www.ValkPVplanner.com. Of course, I already have a login. If you don't have an account already, you click here to request an account, fill in this information, request account. You'll receive an email to your inbox, which you can open that email, then follow the link to confirm your registration, and then from that point you're able to log in and start using the software. Okay, so when you log into the tool for the first time, you just get the information here. This is the disclaimer information. It's going to come up only once each time that you log in. First few things to go over with the software. If you click up here on the menu bar, you can see the different options that we've got here. So for example, if you go to your user settings, you can upload your own picture, upload your own company logo, so that when you produce reports you see your company logo here rather than the default Van der Valk logo. Here you can upload any modules that you've got. I've got an awful lot of modules saved in here, which is why it takes a little bit of time to load. Here you can edit any modules, remove them, set them as your default panel if you're always using the same one, and create a new module here. And when you do that, you're just putting in the name of the module, power, length, width, height, weight, and the color blue or black. This is the projects tab. So any projects that you've been working on, previous projects, you need to edit them, amend them, you can do that here, and also clone your projects also in there as well. Okay, so let's start a new project. So you can see what I've done here is I've just clicked on create new project, but this is of course the page that you come to when you first log into the tool as well. So let's give this one a name. Okay, this is a reference for your project here. The location, I'm going to just choose a location where I know there's some nice buildings that we can work on. And once you start typing in the address, you'll see the options that match that address pop up here. So you need to select one of those options. So we're going to select here, this is the address that I want to use. And you'll see that then fills that in. Also completed is the wind area, the snow zone, and the height above sea level. If you're a direct customer, you put in your discount here and your currency in here. You must select the terrain category. There are 3 options. You can see the different options here. You basically have coastal, country or rural, and then urban areas. We'll select this one as country for this example. And then finally, have you got high neighbouring structures? And there's a little bit of information about this here. What determines a high neighbouring structure and what you need to look out for. And again, you can see the equation, the formula for this here. On this particular project, I know we don't have any high neighbouring buildings. And then finally, the distance to the coastline. I normally use Google Earth if you're not sure, so I can find the address on Google Earth and then use the measuring tool to calculate the distance to the coastline. Let's say on this example, maybe it's 10 kilometers. Also notice this is always in kilometers and meters, not miles, feet or yards. If your terrain category is town, you have an extra field to fill in, which is the distance to the edge of the city. So from where your project is out to the edge of the urban area, what is that distance? You also use Google Earth to measure that, of course. Okay, once you've filled in all this information, the 3 boxes here will be highlighted. We have here satellite map, which is where you can use Google Earth or other satellite imagery providers to find your building, assuming it's an existing building, and overlay your panels onto there. We have a white map, which is the new buildings that you can't see from satellite images that you can draw yourself. And then finally, we have a simple mode, This is really for projects where you don't necessarily have all of the information. You've got an idea about how many panels that you want to fit, and you want to get an indicative cost or ballast indication if it's a flat roof. This is a very quick way of calculating your project, which we'll do first. So on this project, we're going to click on simple mode. Okay, so we have two choices here, flat roof or pent roof. We'll go with the flat roof on this occasion, and we type in the ridge height. Let's say it's 10 meters high. There will always be an assumption, so if you don't know the information, you can just go with the assume. So we'll always assume 6 meters, it will always assume bitumen and 3 rows of 3. Let's say, for example, you know you've got a PVC roof on this particular project. And in the simple mode, you're not looking to make complicated arrays, it's really just simple arrays, for example 3 rows of 3, 5 rows of 10, something like that. So for example, if we do here 10 rows of 10, you can see that just generates that quickly. You zoom in and out by using the wheel on your mouse whilst hovering on this area, and if you click, you can drag the area around as well. Once you're happy with your array, you can click next. Say if there's gravel present on the roof, yes or no. It will assume no unless you tell it otherwise. Now you're into the system section. So this is where you pick your panel. So I have in here as my default just a test panel, and these are all the panels that I've loaded in. So maybe you're going to use a JA270, for example. I'll select that panel. You have a choice of landscape or portrait for flat roof. Then when you change that, you'll see the layout change. You'll also notice in the top grey bar, as I did that, if I change it back to landscape, you'll see up here the green or red text. That's showing you an increase or decrease in the price of the system. You can choose between south or east-west, and that's the same for both landscape and portrait. The module inclination is fixed at 10 degrees for now. The system type also fixed. The distance between the rows for both the east-west and the south-facing ValkPro system is fixed, you may already know. This is where you can add some dilations or thermal expansion gaps if you want to. So for example, between the columns, if we want one after the second column, you'll see here, that's added this blue line, that's a break in the system there. And we can change that to 5 panels, put it in the middle. This might be because you've got maybe a man-safe cable or something, a certain reason that you need to have a break in the system there. So that's going to give you, for example, end feet here and here, as opposed to when you have no dilation there, they're going to be joined together with mid feet. And the same for the rows. If you want to put a break in, note that with the east-west system, it's the number of panels. So it's after the 4th panel, not the 2nd peak, because of course this is only 2 peaks but 4 panels here. You can change that back to 0. There are maximum array sizes and row lengths that you can have, and if you exceed these, then the dilations will be automatically added. So for example, if we go back and we change our array to 20 by 20, still no gravel, and we change it to a south facing system, you'll see this blue line has been automatically added. That's because at this point we've reached the maximum row length, so this dilation is now compulsory for thermal expansion. You can still move it, so if you want to place it in the center, we've put in 20 panels, so we've put it in 10. You've now got your thermal expansion gap, and you've got 2 equal sized arrays on either side of that expansion gap. And as I say, if you leave that as 0, that will automatically add that expansion gap for you. And the same goes once you exceed the maximum number of rows as well. Once you're finished with your array size, you click next. The foundation type and color are both fixed in the ValkPro Plus flat roof system. You can add micro inverter or power optimizer clamps here. You can also do this in the bill of materials at the end. You can add ballast into your order, and the optional side shields as well can be added here, both of which can be taken away in the bill of materials if you want to. So at this point, you can either go back if you need to make changes, or go to your bill of materials. which you see here. So this is a summary of all the materials required for that array that we've just designed in that specific location. As I said before, if you want to remove the ballast, you can now do that here. You can see that's been removed from the bill of materials, and of course I can re-add it again here. And also, if you didn't select microinverter or power optimizer clamps and you want to do that, you can do that here and they'll be added to the bill of materials. On this particular system, you use the hammerhead nut and bolt set, which is here. So you can see I've got that at 618 at the moment because I've selected one for every 2 panels. If I deselect this option, it reduces the number down to just what we need for our actual array. Bit of a summary at the top here. We've got 400 panels designed, the total power based on the panel that we've selected and the location of the project. And then down here you can see the gross price of the system, the discount that you've entered if you are a direct customer, or the discount that you get from your supplier, and then your net purchase price here with a watt peak price and a total weight. The weight will go up and down as you select and deselect the ballast. So you see here 5.8 tons. When we remove the ballast, it's removed from the bill of materials, but also the weight's gone down to just 3 tons now. Of course, the price has gone down to reflect the fact that the ballast has been removed. You can print the bill of materials here. Just a 1-page document, either print or save. And this will just show only the bill of materials and the project price up here. The report you can generate here. You have to make sure that you've turned off you've allowed this website to have pop-ups. You might get an alert here to say that you need to allow pop-ups for this website, so make sure you do that. If you may then need to re-click on the generate report because it may have been blocked the first time. So this is the report for the project we've just made here. A little bit of a table of index, bit of a location information, some notes here just to let you know that the tiles have not been included, so we deselected those, so be aware of that. And if they are included, this will be a green box saying that ballast is included. And then finally here, just to say that this project has been designed in the simple mode. So with the simple mode, as you'll notice, we didn't put any building parameters in terms of the dimensions. So the tool will always assume the panels to be in the middle zone of the roof. Bear that in mind. If this particular project was to go ahead, you would probably want to redesign the project with the building information in either the Google Maps or the white map for new buildings mode, so that you can actually acknowledge those edge zones are there and see if that affects your system at all. A little bit of system information. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these reports already. Information on the weight of the system, the roof loadings, point loads, maximum, minimum. Here's the bill of materials for the array or the entire project even. This is the ballast layout, so you can see we need 2 tiles, and on the outside here, here and here, and then 0.5 tiles in the center, and a little bit of a matrix to show you the different panel categories effectively. So you've got here, for example, these were the 2 are this type, so these are panels with side panels and mass carriers. So on these panels with the grey and the white circle, you need side shields and mass carriers. And then when only the number is in the center, you need just the number of tiles. And then if there's a circle, so for example, if this number 2 had a circle around it, this would indicate you also need mass carriers here. So on this array, the only place that you need mass carriers is on these grey panels that coincidentally also have side shields. And the rest of the project, the ballast is placed on the rubber feet only. Here's the regulations and information about the wind tunnel testing, and then finally some safety instructions, T's and C's on there. And again, you can save this or print it here. Okay, that's the simple mode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do now, show you the other 2 modes quickly. So we'll start a new project. We'll give this one another name. Okay, so again, I'll use the same address, Parsons Road, select from here. I'll just put in the same information as before. Obviously, I don't want to go over this all again. Distance to shoreline, let's say 10. Okay, now you can see I've completed that, so these 3 boxes are now active. Once you click on the satellite map, it will load that road that I've typed in, so I can use the wheel on my mouse to zoom in and zoom out. So you can see this is a residential area. However, as I drag, using the left click, drag the cursor along a little bit, you can see we've got an industrial area here, which gives me the opportunity to show you both pitched residential roofs and commercial flat and pitched roofs as well. So let's say this is going to be our target building. We can zoom in using the wheel on the mouse. You can change the image provider if you want to try and look for a better satellite image. There's a number of different options here, like Digital Globe and Bing as well. I find for projects in the UK that Google Earth tends to be the best, which is the default image provider. But mess around with this and you can see, try some of the other options as well. See if you can find a better picture for your building. Sorry, excuse the phone. Okay, so once you've located your building, you click Start, give it a name, and the height. Say this one is at 6 meters. Now we're going to trace around the outside of our building. The tool prefers to work in right angles as a default, so all I'm going to do is click in the extreme corners of my roof here, and then these guides will pop up. You'll see once you have 2 points, you have guides. That's this feature here, snap to guides, so I can only place my next point along this white dotted line, because that will give me a 90-degree angle between these 2 perimeter lines. If you have an irregular shaped building, you could turn snap to guides off and then allow irregular angles, and then I could click a point here and here and so on and make an odd shaped building or an irregular shaped building. And if you want to make a mistake or you want to change that, you can just right click on a point, delete point, right click, delete point, delete point. So you can see you're not really limited to square rectangular buildings. If I turn the guides back on, and also not to allow regular angles, just to show you this building. So I'm going to click on the guideline. Once you've got those 2 points in there, it will finish the building for you if you want it to, or I could continue down here along the guide, such as this, if this was the shape of the building. And again, delete those points. Oops. Delete that point as well. Okay, so you see that's completed that building for me. Once you're happy with your building, click Finish. Select the roof type. So we say here this one is a flat roof, and the roof material, we can leave it as bitumen. Click Next. Is there gravel, yes or no? Close. At this point you've now finished your building, and you can start to add some keep outs, such as skylights, chimneys, air conditioning units, anything you can see on this roof where your panels can't be placed, or an area that you just know that you need to keep free for another reason. So for example, if we click to add a keep out 1 is the default name. You can change that to air conditioning units or lift vent shaft, anything like that. The height of that keep out, and then the offset, this is how much space you want to leave around that keep out. So let's say we want to leave a 1 meter edge around our keep out. And in the same way that we drew the building, we just draw the keep out. So let's imagine that this area here is going to be a keep out. We just click the perimeter of that keep out zone like this, and then when we click Finish, you'll see that's now blocked out that zone. So that's our keep out, that's our 1 meter perimeter that we asked for, and this is now the panels that fit on this roof space. And you can add many keep outs, you know, there could be another one over here, skylight. If you want to change the size of the keep out once you've added it, you do that here. So you click on your keep out 1, and then you can use these features here to move that keep out, delete it, clone it, or edit the points if you want to change the size of it. We can also have the feature to add a tree. So when you click on the tree button there, you'll see it drops a tree for you right in the center of your roof. We might want to assess the impact of these trees on shading on this roof, so you can drag that to the location where you see the tree on the map. When you've been to site, you may well have noticed that that tree was, I don't know, 20 meters high. It's a tall tree, and the radius is 10 meters. That would then allow you to use the sun shade simulation, which is here. To cast a shadow from this tree, you'll see a 24-hour clock, and you'll see the effect of the sun as it comes around, and you'll see the shadow from that tree, and if it impacts on your building, that might then choose you to remove some of the panels in that shaded area. Okay, you can see our tree and our keep out zone there. So the roof has been automatically filled with panels based on the middle zone, so the most favourable in terms of ballast requirement. If you want to max out your roof space, or indeed make any other changes to this array, you click on this area here. So you can see the edge zone has been calculated to 1.2 meters. Let's say you want to use more of the roof space, you change that to 0.5 meters. It's just going to pop up to let you know that you must have side panels once you go into the edge zone of the roof. So inside that 1.2 meter zone on this project, you must have side shields included. Okay. You'll see the green dotted line has now moved close to the edge. So that's our new edge zone, but our sub area, our active area for panels, is still the same. So in order to change that, you'll see we've got here our sub area, default sub area. If you click on the reset, you'll see now that that has moved our panels, our active sub area, to the point where we've set our edge zone. So we've maxed out with the available space that we've selected on the roof the number of panels that we can fit in there. If you want to change the size of this sub area, or you, for example, don't want to use this entire roof, you maybe only want to use this top roof space, you can change the size of your sub area here, clicking on this pencil feature. You can click on any point within your sub area and move it like this. Finish. So this is now our new active sub area on this roof, and the panels that can fit in that area. And it's split two ways here, so you can always see the satellite view, and you can also see this grid view here, which allows you to make changes. For example, if I click on the panels, they are removed, and you can see that's reflected here on the satellite image. I can click to add those back in. With the shift key, I can remove entire rows, and the control key, I can remove entire columns, and then add those back in as well. Also, you can just click and hold. So if I click on this panel here, if I click and hold on this one and then drag my mouse, you'll see that that will allow me to remove panels like that. So within your active sub area, you can select your panel. Let's say we're going to use this Canadian. You'll see, because the dimensions of the panel are slightly different, this panel that was active now no longer fits here, so that's been removed. You can change the configuration, the orientation to portrait. This is just going to let us know on this occasion that there's too many tiles required. So this area has now been disabled, so it's not possible to place a portrait system here. If this happens to you, the best thing to do is contact us in the office and we'll have a look at the project for you. There might be another system type that we can offer instead. We'll change that to landscape. You'll see the layout stayed the same from the portrait, so again we can just click on the refresh button there. That's going to set that back to the default. Now because we've changed the orientation of the system after making some layout changes, we'd have to redo those, so I'll put those changes back in there. Again, the inclination is fixed, the system type is fixed, and the distance between the rows is fixed, so the center to center spacing. You can change the azimuth of your system using this feature here. So you have two options. You can click on the arrow and turn it round, so you'll see what the effect that's having there. Orientation of the system this way. And again, you'll see now this is potential panels that could fit in this roof space. So again, if we click on the refresh button, that will fill that roof space. So that's option 1 for the azimuth. Option 2, if you zoom in a little bit and select one of the axes, so for example this one, set azimuth perpendicular. That will then realign our panels perpendicular to this axis or this one, however you want to do that. And again, you can then fill that roof space and remove the panels as you need them. Obviously, ideally, once you get up to grips with the tool, you do all this first before you start to remove your panels and really finalize your layout. The dilations here are the same as we saw in the simple mode, so you can add these if you want to. They will only be added automatically if you exceed the maximum row or number of rows before thermal expansion gap is required. When you're happy, you click next. Foundation is fixed, the color is fixed. Again, you can choose your power optimizer, micro inverter clamps here. Add tiles if you want to, and side shields if you want to. Remember, if you've gone into the edge zones of the roof, the side shields will automatically be added. So let's say that these panels are in the edge, so you'll have side shields here, but these panels are not, so they won't be added automatically. So if you prefer to have side shields everywhere rather than just in some places, click here, and the panels that didn't otherwise have side shields will now have them included. And if you unclick that, they'll go back to just the compulsory panels. When you're finished, you close. That's now that sub area finished. You could add another sub area to this roof. Maybe you want to have another small system down in this corner or a different system type. You have two options. You can clone this active area here, or you can create a new sub area. So we'll have sub area 2, and we can do that just by drawing again, clicking out. Maybe this time we want to have an irregular system and we won't snap to guides, so you might have something like that. Let's say that's our next sub area, and when we finish, it will fill that sub area with panels. Maybe on this particular one we want a east-west system. Refresh, really max that out with the maximum number of panels that we can fit. We might take out these ones. These are half peaks. These are possible in the system. You'll automatically have back plates and shorter carrier profiles added for those, but maybe you just want a nice neat looking system, something like that. You can move the array within the sub area like this using the feature here, toggle feature, and as you do that, that will affect, of course, the number of panels that you can fit. So you can see how that's changing as I move that array around. Deactivate the toggle, and then again you can go back to clicking, adding panels, removing them, and of course you've always got the refresh feature there to fill that roof space with panels if you want to. Once you click next, again there's the same options as we saw before, and then close. So we now have two active roof areas on this roof. We may want to move one of these sub areas, let's say sub area 2, so we can click on the toggle feature here and we can move that, drop it over here, and then unclick. So it's very easy to move that area around. If we want to clone that sub area, do it like this, and you'll see a second one's popped up. We can drop that there,
As in my series, yeah.
which is now sub area 3, which you can see. So it's copied exactly the same layout as we had here because we've cloned it, but it might just be the area that you want to clone and not the layout. So you might then also have this one as a south-facing system. Close. So you can see there the features that we've got for flat roofs and the sub areas as well. Okay, if you want to add a second building, whether that's this building here or any one of these buildings, in fact, you do that here on the plus sign. What I'm going to do is take the opportunity to show you a pitched roof. Let's do a commercial trapezoidal roof. So we'll say this one here, let's say this is a pitched roof. So we're going to add a new building here, building 2. This one might be trap roof. Maybe it's just 4 meters high. 25 is the maximum height you can design up to in the software. And again, we're just going to click the perimeter of the building. Like this. Finish. You'll see it's defaulted to a gabled roof, which is lucky in this instance. So it's put the ridge right down the center, which is perfect. You can move this, you can drag it, click it and drag it. Just going to let you know if you make changes, the roof will be recalculated. So you can see how I could drag that along there. I'm going to line that up with the ridge. Or perhaps the ridge is actually running this way on this building, in which case you change the orientation like this, and you can see how that changes the ridge there. So you have a choice of different pitch roof materials here, all the different tile types, corrugated, standing seam. This time we're going to do trapezoidal, at which point it will default the pitch to 20 degrees. You can change it if you know otherwise for your project. As you can see, there's always assumptions. So here, for example, it's assumed 333mm crown spacing. That's something we see very often. And it's assumed the sheet thickness to the minimum sheet thickness that our thin sheet screws can work with. Again, change this if you know otherwise, but there's always a default option in there to make the tool as fast and intuitive as possible. Okay, just an alert to let us know that the minimum ridge height for the current building is higher than the user's choice. This is calculated based on the building dimensions and the pitch that we've put in of 20. It's basically saying that the ridge can't be 4 meters that we've typed in. Obviously, with Pythagoras theory, we can work out what that ridge height actually is. So that's been defaulted, changed to the new calculated ridge height. Keep outs and trees, as we saw before, unchanged. Okay, so on a gabled pitch roof, you automatically have two default sub areas. So we've got the south facing side and the north facing side. If you don't want any panels on this side of the roof, you just click here on this eyeball, which is area disabled. So they're now gone completely. You can bring them back very easily. When you want to make changes to your south side of the roof, click on area 1, so sub area 1. The edge zone again default has been entered, which is 1.4 meters. Maybe we're happy with that on this particular project. And then if we want to make changes to the panel layout, we click here on default sub area. So we're now really working within this sub area. Change the panel as before. If you want to add a new panel, you can do that here. So if you're halfway through a design and you realize you haven't already entered your panel, you click on this plus sign. You can add a new one. Change the orientation. Perhaps you want landscape. You'll see the thermal expansion line has been added, we spoke about before. And the system type clamp, that's fixed. You can add dilations if you want to. So for example, if we have a dilation after 3, you'll see that you then need a second dilation because you want to have a dilation here. This is then the maximum number of panels you can have side by side before you need another thermal expansion. Maybe we try and place it somewhere in the center, something like that. And if you change it to 0, then it's going to put it in the default place. So again, after the maximum number of coupled panels has been exceeded. We've got dilation in the columns as well. So you would now have 4 separate areas here. So again, with the keep outs, if you had a skylight here, you would have added that at the beginning. If you haven't done that, you can still remove panels just by clicking and holding, same as we did on the flat roof. So we maybe have some very big skylights here. And you can also still remove the entire rows, entire columns with the shift and control features. Once you've finished your array, click next. Choose your fixing type, screws or rivets, if this is of course for a trapezoidal. The colour, so on this system type you have a choice of aluminium or semi-black, which is black panel clamps. Still the microinverter clamps are available, power optimizer clamps, and then pre-assembled rubber plates. Do you want those? So on your trapezoidal system you can have loose rubber plates or pre-assembled, which just saves installation time. Once you're happy, close. So our project now looks like this. We can change between building 1, which is our flat roof, building 2, which is our pitch roof. Make changes if we want to the dimensions of the building. All of this will of course result in recalculating the number of panels that can fit, so all of this work will be undone if you do decide to change the layout of your roof. And the sub area, default sub area on this roof, which is here, you can change this same as we did on the flat roof if you wanted to max out the roof space, or maybe you want to reduce the roof space, so you might change the sub area to much smaller, this small area, just as we did on the flat roof before. When we go to our bill of materials, you have the total bill of materials here. So this is all the flat roof materials. And then at the bottom you see here all the trapezoidal roof materials that we've added. You can look at flat roof sub area 1. So that was the larger sub area we created. This is just the bill of materials for that sub area. and the price and the weight. Flat roof sub area 2 and 3. Also notice the system type, so sub area 3 south facing, sub area 2 east west, just so you're aware what system type you've got on that roof space. And again the same information, and then finally the default, the second building, which is the trapezoidal roof, which only had one sub area, which was the default. If you want to add spares, you do that here. So you can type in, I want 20 extra mid clamps and 5 extra end clamps, and you can do that, increase and reduce that here if you want to. Same for any of your other sub areas, and then when you go to the total column, you'll see that those have been added here. You can still add spares here if you want to as well. That will affect your bill of materials. Print the same as you did here when we generate the report.
ValkPVplanner speaking. Yeah, what's that?
Open the report down here. You can see, apologies for the phone, you can see as you scroll down the same location overview that we saw in the simple mode, the project overview. So we've got the flat roof and the trapezoidal roof and the different sub areas, the number of panels within those sub areas, the kilowatt peak for those sub areas, the amount of ballast required, the total weight of the mounting system.
He's doing a webinar at the moment, mate. Probably James.
Here's the bill of materials for the entire project,
yeah, James,
which we saw before. Just to let you know, there's one or more sub areas where tiles are not included. So on one of these sub areas here, we didn't have the tiles added for our flat roof. This is the size of our flat roof, the size of our trapezoidal roof. So we're now on roof area 1, so the flat roof, area 1, sub area 1. So this is the roof information that we put in, system type. The weight and the point loads of that sub area. This is the bill of materials specific to that sub area. You can see the sub area here, so our entire roof shape was something like this. And then our the active sub area 1 here. This is the layout for the panels and the amount of ballast required, same as we saw in the simple mode. Sub area 2, bill of materials for sub area 2. Here's the layout, the amount of ballast required. Sub area 3 as well. Something to point out actually, which you see here, the red dotted line indicates the edge zone, so you can see which panels are actually inside the edge zone. The red blocked areas are the corner zones. So where this sub area 2 was almost in the center of the roof, you can see we haven't got any panels in the edge or corner zones. But you can see where we were close. So we were close to the edge zone just here. Finally, we've got sub area or building 2, which is the trapezoidal roof. You see here the bill of materials for building 2. Here's the layout. You zoom in a little bit, you can see this is the location of your trapezoidal profiles. This is the edge zone, and here's our thermal expansion gaps. You can see that just there, see the break between the panels and the panels that we removed also. And then finally the regulations and things that we saw before in the simple mode. So that's your report for that particular project. That project is now saved, so you could go to your dashboard, go to your projects, you could type in webinar, UK webinar. You could find that project, you could right click, you could edit the project, you could go straight to the bill of materials, delete the project if you want to. Bear in mind that if you click delete, there's no feature that pops up that says, are you sure? So once you click that delete button, the project is gone. You may want to clone it to offer an alternative system. So maybe you've designed a 10-degree flat roof south facing and you want to show also the client in east west. So you could clone the project and then go into that clone project and change to east west to show that. The last thing to show you then is the white maps, which is the only thing we haven't done yet. Do that now. You still have to put in a location, because although you can't see the building on Google Earth if it's new, you still need to know the wind speed, the height above sea level. All of that is determined in this section where you're putting in the location. Okay, use that address. Maybe this time it's town. Still no height. Surrounding structures. Distance to the shoreline might be only 5 kilometers. Distance to the edge of the city might be 1. So just 1 kilometer inside the urban area. We click on the white map feature. It's very much the same. Obviously, you don't see any map this time. You just see the grid paper. You click start, and all you can do is plot out your building. So maybe we have a 25-meter high building this time, which is the maximum. And we're going to click the points. You'll see the dimension. You can have a fixed grid. So when you're drawing your building, you can say snap to grid yes. That will only allow you to snap to the corner points of the grid, and you type in the snap step in meters. So let's say you're going to work in 5-meter increments. You do that here. So as we've now got a 30.01 meter building. When we draw the second point, that's here. We know that's going to be 15 meters. And finally here. So that's our building drawn, and again you can turn on the irregular angles, you can turn on snap to guide, so you can draw a hexagonal shaped building if you want to. Finish, and then from that point it's exactly the same. So you can choose whether you've got a flat roof, gabled, hipped or pyramid. Maybe this time we've got a hipped roof, which is tiled at 30 degrees. For tiled roofs, you can choose to put in the rafters. If not, it will just calculate on optimized. So what is the optimum roof hook spacing? If you know your rafter spacing, maybe 600 millimeters, you can put that in here. And similar to the trapezoidal roof, where you have 2 active areas, on this one you instantly have 4 active areas. Again, add keep outs or trees. Maybe you don't want to use all of these roof areas, so you might deactivate this one and this one, keep these 2 live, or maybe these 2 are most southerly facing, so you keep these 2 live. And then within those you can make the changes just as we saw before. So you can open up the sub area, change the panel, change the configuration, change the size of the sub area, anything that you need to do. All the features are the same across all the roof types. Get bill of materials, and of course we've seen this before. Okay, well I hope that's given you a quick overview of the design software, the PVplanner. I'd encourage you all to maybe have a go at a project. If you get stuck, you're welcome to give us a call. We're happy to help you. We have some screen share software called TeamViewer, where we can give you some on-the-spot training and assistance with projects. There's one other thing that I'd like to show you, which is a second piece of software that we have, which is called the ValkPlanner. Which is here. So we have a number of different kits within our range. We have boxed kits for tile roofs. So for example, we have a ValkBox 3, which is 3 panels in portrait on a roof. So all you have to do is type in a project name, your email address, discount if applicable, your country of use, which would be the United Kingdom. Select the orientation, portrait, number of panels next to each other, 4, and the number of rows. Let's say 2, so we've got 2 rows of 4. Which roof hook do we want to use, which is the strong line. System color, length of profile that you prefer, 3 meters, and do you want the power optimizer clamps? Save. Oops, and we haven't put in all the other fields, so that won't work on this occasion, but you're easy to put those in for yourselves. We have our ramped kits in here, so the Valk double, triple and quattro, the ValkBox 3, canopy systems, and also our field system now, all within this software. So for any kit type systems, please come to this website, and again, please give us a call if you have any questions or need any assistance with it. For example, if we look at a ValkBox, a Valk Quattro or a Valk Triple or a Valk Double, project name, flat roof extension, maybe. You've just got a low level flat roof or a garage roof. You type in your email address, your name, country of use, discount, currency. So we're going to go for the Valk Triple. We want 3 of those, number of ramps. Roof height is between 0 and 5 meters. The wind area maybe 23 meters per second. Would we like to include ballast? Yes. Would we like to include the power optimizer or micro inverter clamps? No. And do we need the extension set? So is your panel within this range? If it's less, if it's a standard 992 or 990, you don't need the extension set. You can leave that to no. So when you click save, you can go to bill of materials. This is what we require. So it's 3 of all the components for the Valk triple, and then the ballast that's required. So 21 total number of tires required across those 3 Valk triples. When you click here, send calculation per email, that will send that bill of materials to your inbox. That project is now complete. So it's a one-off, quick software for just calculating what you require for the kits. And for example, if you're buying from a wholesaler, you might put in your wholesaler's email address, your contact person in that field, so it fires it straight to your route to purchase. So then you could phone up your client, your wholesaler, and say, I've just forwarded an email to you, I need this for tomorrow, I need this for next week. So this is just another small software we have for those kits. If you've got any questions, I hope you've directed them to the host. If there's anything else you require, then feel free to drop us an email or give us a call, any assistance with the software. The next webinar will be, I think, in 2 weeks' time. It'll be a different topic, which is yet to be decided. So it will look more specifically at some of our products. So maybe we'll look at our flat roof range or our trapezoidal system, something in a little bit more detail. There won't be another webinar on the PV Planner now for some time. It's not yet scheduled when the next one will be. So I hope it's been of use for you. Yeah, if you need anything else, please get in touch and enjoy using the software. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.